Hello friends, I'm Hoang Nguyen, a PhD student.
I'm Eshani Hetyachi, and I'm a Sri Lankan born scientist now working in UCSD.
Welcome to I Scholar Die with Hoang and Eshani. This podcast series was created to build a support system for international scholars. In this monthly series, we interview professors, postdocs, students, and professionals of international background to share their stories, experiences, and advice with others in the community. Today, our guest speaker is Dr. Tuyen Nguyen. Tuyen and I was once classmates back in high school in Vietnam. Back then, was one of the top students in our class, and she's always very popular at school. After high school, life took us on a diverging path. My family and I moved to the U.S. And then she moved to the United States later on, where she pursued a PhD and even completed her postdoctoral study at the prestigious MD Anderson Cancer Center. And now Tuyen are a thriving research scientist at Poseida Therapeutics. Her passion for science has always inspired me. Thank you, Tuyen, for agreeing to be the guest speaker of our episode today. Is there anything else you want to add on?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I would like to thank Hoan and Ishani for this opportunity. I am honored to be your guest speaker today in your podcast. It is such a coincidence because 1 month from now, exactly September, gonna be my 10 years anniversary of my 10 years being in the US. So I first came to United States in 2013, and little was I know that 10 years journey gonna take place so quick, and I would become or like come to where I am today. And I am more than excited to share my experience of my very first experience in the US, and hopefully it's gonna help our new graduate student as well as new international newcomers can have more some inspiration as well as experience from my story.
Yeah, cool. I didn't know that it's your 10 years anniversary coming up.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. But then when I checked my passport the other day, I was like, oh, I came here in 2013 and now it's 2023 and it's exactly 10 years
Yeah,
already.
cool. All right. So in this episode, we will explore your story and experience during the first month of living in the US. This can range from your first day in the country to your initial experience at school or work, and any advice you would like to share with the audience.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right. So how was your first day in the US look like?
Well, it was interesting. So I can tell you a whole like adventure journey. How can I get here? So like when you travel from Vietnam to the US, it wasn't a short flight. It was like in total cumulatively around 30 hours, including layover. So I flew to Chicago Airport, which is one of the biggest international airport of the US, right? And then it took me literally 3 to 5 hours to go past the custom. And because of the lack of experience in traveling abroad, because United States is the first country that I traveled to internationally. So when we booked the ticket, I wasn't account for that time. So as soon as I get to my connecting flight, it's already flew away. So my first day in the US actually spending my night in Chicago airport, walking around.
Oh, no.
And I still remember like my trying to be awake because I wasn't have the negotiation skill at that time to negotiate with the air, airline to get like a hotel or something like that. So I accept my reality at that time and I just left at the airport. So the first meal was McDonald's, very typical because that's the only thing open at Chicago airport at that time. And the first drink was Starbucks. So it's very American way of getting into United States. That was an experience. I was living at the airport overnight there, and then the next day I was able to get another connecting flight, And so when you flew from internationally from like Japan or like Vietnam, you came here with a big airplane, right? So like at least nine seats next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So when I flew from Chicago to my university college town, is called Manhattan, Kansas. So it's literally in the middle of United States, like middle of nowhere. So we was like getting onto a much smaller plane, like a just three seats on that plane, one seat on one side and two seats on the other side. And when I landed to Manhattan, Kansas, I walked out, and it's like I said, it was like literally in the middle of nowhere that you cannot see anything. It's just cow, corn, paddy field, like with all of the crop, miles. Like it's phenomenal. Like because when I was in Vietnam, all I see on HBO or something like that is like these big building downtown, like traffic, like New York or LA or Chicago. I never imagine that there is another part of United States that is giving me that kind of very suburban, like very like rural life like that. So it was a very interesting experience on my first day being in the US.
Yeah. Do you expect it to be like that?
No, I wasn't. I was expecting to be like in New York.
I think I also have my aunt also share similar thought. She's when we landed in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and we see, a desert. She also very surprised because what she see on scene is LA or New York and stuff like that.
And like as a person who came like who traveled to United States for the first time, I didn't realize that actually majority of US look like that. Like just like some Pacific area is like New York or LA or Chicago would have beautiful downtown skyscraper. Majority of US is like open landfill, and that is such a amazing like way of like thinking about being in the US. Like you think it in one way, but actually it's like much more than that to offer to the experience staying here.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Ashani.
All right. Thank you, Chen. And I think I can really relate to you with that experience. When I was also coming, I thought like entire US would be like more developed and like city like, but then it's a vast continent with like so many beautiful areas. So it's not just the cities, but also everything else that you can find, which was
Exactly.
surprising, but it's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as I live in Manhattan, Kansas, during my graduate school for 5 years, I developed a connection, like an emotional connection with the place. Because if like you live in San Diego, it's the most beautiful place in like the entire world, right? But like Manhattan, Kansas, a tiny town, nothing to do, but actually there are plenty of things to do, and then it's a
Yes.
lot of outdoor activity. The weather is very severe though, like during summer it go up to 100 degrees, and during winter like inches of snow. But because I was living there for 5 years, and I got connected to the place, and I know like those little hidden spots that like I can drive my car to, and then take a break from like maybe my stressful time in the university or something like that. And I developed like a love, like it's just like something that like connect me to the place.
That's wonderful. So you attended a university in Kansas. So how was your first day of school 10 years ago when you were here?
So when I will say it 10 years ago, so I was very young. So a person who came to Manhattan, Kansas, there is much different from who I become now. So when you first came to the United States, you have that kind of excitement, right? And I was like that. I was very excited. Everything I see is beautiful. My university, my graduate school is have like the most unique like European looking kind of architecture. So it's like made by stone, and like there's a
Kansas State?
it's a Kansas State University.
Okay.
How do you know?
I've been there. I have some friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very, I don't know, it look very Westerner for me because
Mm-hmm.
in Vietnam we don't have that kind of architecture. When I look at it, it's like it's just such a beautiful architecture building. And then I was living on campus as well. So like my first day was just walking around campus and enjoying the view, you know. So a lot of excitement on campus on the first time for sure.
Okay. That's wonderful. So did you had like friends to talk in the university, or did you make friends in the very first day?
Well, I was very lucky, and I think I like one of the luckiest girl. Like that, when I came to the US, my sister, my sibling, she's already there. So she showed me around. She showed me what to do. So I consider myself to have a much fortunate situation comparing to like my peer, for example. But then I started to get connected with other Vietnamese friends on campus because we just run into each other, or like we know another Vietnamese in the community, and they introduce us, and then I get connected with other friends like on the same batch with me when I first came. Mhm.
That's wonderful, Kehan.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they help you a lot during your first few days or month in the US, right?
Absolutely. So like all of the things that like you never have to do in Vietnam, like open a bank account, get social security number, a full checklist of what to do in terms of like immigration. So International Student Center, they very helpful. They was very helpful to guide me through. Like they actually have a checklist, and like they was like, okay, just go do this. So it's 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 difficult, it's new, but like at the same time there was a lot of help from the International Student Center itself, and like from my sister and my friends. So it's actually not that bad.
That's good. Good to know. Okay. So what was your most challenging experience in the US and how did you overcome it?
I think one of the most challenging experience maybe to break through the language barrier. So even though when you first came here, you kind of like have some kind of equipped with some kind of like English with you, but the way that we were taught English in Vietnam compared to the conversational English that being used in the US is completely different. And to be honest with you, like when I first came here, I wasn't like the best English speaking student ever. Like I barely get past the TOEFL test in speaking. So when I communicate with my friend in school, like in my graduate school, most of them either was born in the US or they've been here for a long time. So I just, to be honest, I just get my very first conversation with them. I just be able to get like 50% of the content, and I and as an international person, like as a person coming from a different country, when you understand just 50% of the content, you don't know how to respond, and like all I do was just smile and say,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
then try to get through the conversations. So that was like challenging, a lot of topic being discussed, like for example, movie, sports, those kind of topics that like I wasn't be able to like experience when I was in Vietnam. For example, they talk about Star Wars. To I want to confess, I never watched Star Wars. So
Neither.
so when everybody like talking about characters on a very iconic movie, I have no idea, no contribution in the conversation. So sometimes I feel like I'm being awkward, or like it just feel weird to be in the conversation. Or when they talk about football, I growing up watching soccer. I have no idea about it. When my friend know even like the name of the player, the name of the team, how the team look like, it just yeah. So to be able to get the connection and get immersed into like the new culture through communication, that was very challenging.
Mm-hmm. So how did you manage to overcome it? Did you just decide to just let it go, or you actually
No, actually,
learn
like,
about?
yeah, so English is an essential skill to be success. If I decided to like get, if I want to get a PhD degree. So the first thing was to improve the speaking skill, the communication skill. So as you mentioned, I'm not shy. I know that sometimes I can say it dramatically wrong or like in a way that like it makes sense in Vietnamese, but it doesn't make any sense in English.
Mm-hmm.
But I just go around, be very friendly and take initiate conversation, step out of my comfort zone and talk to everybody that I see and get to kind of like build up my vocabulary, build up my ability of speaking. And so over time, willing to improve it and willing to learn and uh, so that helped me to get more better in my communication, get better in my communications. In terms of Star Wars and football, I still didn't watch Star Wars, and I watch football once in my life, and that's it.
Yeah. Um, talking about football, I also didn't understand it, and even though everyone talk about it, but then I moved to after I moved to San Diego, I lived with the American family, and they were nice enough to explain to me how it worked during the games, and then
Yeah.
I actually enjoy watching it after I understand the rules.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Ishani?
About football? I have no idea. Not to this date. I mean, I know football back home, not the football in the US. And yeah, no idea.
It's
Yeah, so one time the International Student Center. So we have a college football team, a Kansas State University Wildcat. And the team is really good, according to my friend, and I believe in them because they have such a big fan base in the college. So the football game normally take place on Saturday morning, and the stadium is literally like 10 steps away from where I live. So I can hear all of the tailgating, all of the cheering voice. So one time the International Student Center, a kind of like football event. So they sell the ticket with a very affordable price for international students. So I went there just to experience it. To be honest, I didn't understand the rule. Now I still didn't understand the rule, but the atmosphere in the stadium is like phenomenal. Like you be there, everybody wear purple, so purple is our graduates, our school K-State color. So I wore purple. Everybody wear purple. We have a university song, and like people just like I don't know, like when like they synchronize in their movement, you can feel it. You being like a part of a bigger community. You don't feel like you are not belong. At that moment, I feel like I belong because at that moment I know that I am a wildcat of Kansas State University. So yeah,
Feeling of belonging.
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences, especially the harder experiences. And so earlier you mentioned about how you got surprised by seeing the vast geographical differences in the continental United States.
Mhm.
But other than that, what was the most unique and interesting thing that you experienced in the US that you felt so different from where you came from?
I think another thing that like is so unique about the US is the diversity. the opportunity to be able to connect with like people from different country. Even though like when I first came, I know that I look different, I speak different, I come from a different culture. But when I look around on campus or the people nearby me, I feel belonging because everybody is like me. They all look different, right? So being with the multicultural experience, which is very unique because now the thing that like I was able to experience that I don't think I would be able to experience anywhere else is that I was invited into different cultural events. There was time that like I attended Iranian New Year and dancing with my Iranian friend, and I was dressing up in sari for my Indian friend, and we go for color festival. And then I also being invited to Easter from my friend from Greece. So and then being able to experience like food from different country. I don't know why. Maybe I am a foodie. So all of my friends from different countries, they know how much I love food. So I think I have a good collection of all of the food that I have been experienced, homemade by my international friend. So those are all of the unique experience that like I was lucky to be able to get being in the US.
It's like you're traveling around the world within the same week, right?
Exactly, yeah, and you learn so much from the people that you talk to. You not only know about their culture, you know about their cuisine, you know about their geography, and you know one day maybe you travel around the world and you have a free hotel to live in that country.
That's a good way to put it.
Yes, that's definitely a plus. Okay, one last question. What is the one piece of advice would you give to other people who are considering moving to the US or who has recently moved to the US?
I think one of the advice that I would like to give is that being in the US is difficult. It's not easy. The thing is how to overcome it is up to us. And to keep pushing it forward, something that seemed to be difficult at this moment, like the time I was at Chicago airport, like sleeping there, doing nothing. At that time, I was like, "What the heck I'm doing with my life here?" But then 5 years from that moment, I look back and it's become a memorable moment of my life that I can tell to my friend. It is something to talk about, right? So graduate school is very, very stressful. I acknowledge that. There was time that I was like staying until 3, 4 a.m. in the morning in the library just to go try to get through all of the study material. But at the end of the day, again, 10 years from now, when you look back, it's become a very minor thing that you have to face in your life. And trying to give your best at this moment is the most important things. And things gonna just figure it out if you live your best.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a very good advice for anyone, even they are not recently moved to the US. Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
with that, thank you, Tuyen, for joining us today with the iScholars Dive and to share your experience. This has been really wonderful listening to you. It uplifts myself too. It's really wonderful. And I'm sure our listeners will also benefit from your advices and from your stories. And then thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ishani and Juan. And I'm very happy and honored to be in your podcast today and on the best for your show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for staying with us for another episode of iScholar Dive. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you are not already doing so, please follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. iScholar Dive with Hoang and Eshani. Please leave us a comment with your suggestions or the topics you want us to discuss in the future. If you want to share your iScholar story, please let us know by emailing us at ischolardive@gmail.com or sending us a message. Hope to have you again with our next episode on the first Thursday of the month. iScholar Dive content is separate from Hoang's and my research roles at UC San Diego.